welcome back to Inside the Tank presented by CW Sports Memorabilia. I'm your host, Tyler Rains. Now, of course, we're not in the studio today, but I am going to bring you the recording for this week's episode of Inside the Tank. So I want to talk a little bit about the Mississauga Steelheads. Now, we know that their series against North Bay has been quite the interesting one if you've been keeping track of it. This series has been incredible. Why has it been incredible? Because they're giving it every bit of fight that they've got. So the first game, they go into North Bay, and everybody's thinking, they're going to get swept. This is going to be a team that, has no chance of winning this. They end up losing 5-1 in that game one. And at that point, I was thinking to myself that this team, they didn't have a good game. And that showed through. I think it was a little bit of nervousness. Possibly a little bit of, not being used to getting to play this first game against a team that's that good. You have played North Bay all season, and you have obviously made sure that, that you were playing them in a way that you knew going into the playoffs that it was going to be at least easy in some regard to play them. Now, the second game was a complete 180 from the first game. It was a 4-3 win. They started on time. James Hardy scored the first goal. They ended up taking that rhythm and running with it through the entire game. They tied the series up, and that was a perfect game. Now, what was so good about that game? Their power play was perfect. Their penalty kill was perfect. And it's like I said, they stuck with it. That rhythm throughout the entire game. They had that flow and that consistent play that allowed them to play their game. That's what happened in game 2. They come home on Tuesday night for game 3. And I have a little bit of a mixed opinions about weekday games. Obviously, it sucks that it was a weekday game, but still a really, really good turnout for both games on Tuesday, Wednesday. So Tuesday night, they come home and they're playing North Bay again. They start off okay. Took a bit of a dumb penalty. Porter Martone took a bit of a boarding call at the beginning of the game, leading to a North Bay power play. They score on that power play, and they go up 1-0. Now, this one kind of got away from them a little bit, not in the sense of they played bad, but they just made a few errors that North Bay capitalized on and scored a bunch of goals on it. That final score was 5-2. Now, that game was a little bit difficult to digest if you're a Steelheads fan. Because for reasons that we know, when you take penalties like that, and I've been saying this all season, when you take penalties like that at the beginning of the game, it kind of defines what the first period's going to be. Or in this case, it let them define what this first period was going to be. Unfortunately, they tied it up. North Bay took a chance to get ahead, and that's exactly what happened. So the battalion ended up getting ahead. They took that game. Now, Tuesday's game was its own category, right? It was one that not a lot of people expected them to be playing as well as they did. It's like I said, they just kind of made a few mistakes. Wednesday's game was a complete 180. They started on time. They followed through. I think they went up 1-0 early in the game. North Bay tied it up, and then they just, from there, took it and ran with it. What do I mean by that? They decided that they weren't going to let the aggression get ahead of them. They were going to play their game properly, and they were going to go out there and do what they do best, play their system, and not let anything slow them down. And that's exactly what they did. And that is something that you love to see in the Steelheads organization, whatever game they're playing. But I think this game was their most complete game of the playoffs, because you look at the first game of the series. They didn't play well at all. Second game, they played good, but there were times where they were fighting for the lead. The third game had a few mistakes, wasn't the worst game, but it was still pretty good to say the least. The fourth game, just stuck with it, let their power play go to work, let their penalty kill go to work. That was it. They were lights out and just ready to rock and roll. Now, see, the issue is Game 5, which is currently going on right now. As of this recording, it's 5-0 North Bay, and this is getting the fans a little bit nervous. I've been keeping track of my social media all night, and been watching the game as well. This one's a little bit nerve-wracking because that puts their back against the wall on Sunday. Because as of right now, like I said, it's 5-0 for North Bay, and it started rough. You want to talk about a complete 180 from the game that they took on Wednesday. So they played an amazing game on Wednesday, like I mentioned. This game, they were getting beat out on faceoffs. They were getting icing calls against them. I think the referees missed a few calls. They weren't really doing anything that was going to help them in this game. And unfortunate as it is, that's just part of the way the playoff hockey's played. And this team, resilient as they are, I think they gave it everything they had in this game. And, you know, it's so unfortunate that it got to that bad so quick. But they have a chance to get this thing back on Sunday. And though it may seem grim, and though people say that the Steelheads might not make it out of this series, I don't believe that. Because if you look at the results through this entire series so far, leading up to this game, Game 1 they lost, Game 2 they won, Game 3 they lost, Game 4 they won, Game 5 they're losing, maybe Game 6 they're going to win and send it to Game 7. And then we'll talk about whether they're going to lose the series or not. But I'm so confident in this team that they're going to bounce back and have a good game on Sunday because they've been doing it all series long. They don't give up. They've taken North Bay to 5 games so far when everybody thought that this was going to be a 4-game series and that it was going to be a quick knockout. That's it. They showed resilience. They showed why they're made of what they are. And they showed that they're not going to give up if a team is kicking them while they're down because they bounced back. They found a way to get James Hardy on the power play, scoring on the power play. Angus McDonnell had a 2-goal game on Wednesday night. There were so many factors as to why this team is going to be resilient and bounce back in this series and why they have bounced back in the series. So this may be a tough game, but I think Sunday is going to be one to watch because we'll see how they respond to this game. It's that pattern. It's that pattern that you have to watch for because Game 1 they lost 5-1. Again, I'm going to keep repeating it. They lost the first game, lost the third game, and then came back and won the second and the fourth. Why is this an important thing? Again, resilience. James Richmond went out there and he sent a message to his players saying that if you want to get back in this series, or if you want to be in this series, not back in the series, then you have to play your game. You have to go out there and play the way that you want to play, and that's exactly what they did. They showed that they weren't afraid to go out there and to play the way that they can, and then we know they all do. They were good on the penalty kill. They were good on the power play. But in Game 6, this is one that you need to watch for. Because you can't be taking dumb penalties in the first minute of the game like they did tonight. You want to make sure that if you are on the power play, that you're getting good opportunities. Their power play has been incredible throughout this entire series. It's killed North Bay almost every single time they were on the power play. And they just need to play smart because, again, their backs are against the wall. As of right now, their backs are against the wall. And anything can happen. It doesn't matter who steps up. It doesn't matter what happens in that Game 6. If they play a game like they did on Wednesday night, no doubt they're going to get the win. And in order to do that, you need to stay disciplined. Don't take those penalties in the first, right? In the first minute of the game, at least. You've got to stay sharp on the defense. Don't let North Bay get so many chances, right? Liam Arnsby, Josh Bloom, Kyle Jackson, Ty Nelson. You don't want to let any of those guys anywhere close to Ryerson Leaders or Alessio Bellieri, whoever starts. You don't want to let anyone close to the goalies because that's just going to be a recipe for disaster. And again, you don't want to do that. So they have to make sure that they're playing sharp defense. Don't take dumb penalties. Keep consistent when it comes to the penalty kill because the last thing you need is for them to have a great kill one shift and then let them score in the power play in the next shift. That's one thing that has killed them in this series is when North Bay gets a power play, they will score on it 8 times out of 10. and it's killed them. It hasn't done them any favors, and they just need to be careful of that. Now, with that being said, let's talk about some of the good things through the series and the bad things through the series. Now, some of the good things include that James Hardy has been leading the charge. He's got 4 goals and 3 assists through 5 games. So 7 points through 5 games, which is pretty incredible. He's been incredible, immaculate, to say the least. Luke Misa's been getting in on the action. Angus McDonnell, as always, has been incredible. He had a 2-goal game the other night. He was getting in on the forecheck tonight, and despite the results, he's looked good out there. So the star players have looked good. Parker Von Richter's looked good on the back end. Charlie Callahan's been looking pretty decent. And Ryerson Leanders, I think, deserves a lot more credit than he gets. He's a 16-year-old goalie. Keep this in mind. He's a 16-year-old goaltender playing in the playoffs in his rookie season, playing in his first playoff game. That right there is impressive. The fact that he's made it this far, that is impressive. He needs to just stay sharp. The team around him needs to focus, and they need to get this done. Because regardless of what happens on Sunday, I know that I'm going to be proud of this team because they showed so much resilience, and it shows for a better season ahead of us, whether it's continuing the playoffs this year or going into the next season. It shows that this team is going to be well on their way to success. And it starts off with the players getting comfortable with each other and being able to pull themselves out of situations like this. And I think if they can do it, then they will. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell notification for all future content, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode.